In this week's Parsha Lecha, Avram and his family descend to Egypt due to a major famine in Canaan, and return to Canaan laden with wealth. Upon the return to Canaan, due to both owning too many physical possessions to be able to share the same space, Avram and his nephew Lot decide to part ways. Avram gave Lot the choice on how to split up. Lot could go either left or right, remaining along the mountain range of what would later be called the Judean Mountains, and Avram in turn would go in the other direction. Lot, however, chose neither of Avram's options. Instead of remaining in the mountains, Lot chose to go down to Sodom, a very lush area on the Jordan plain below, with an abundance of water. When Lot took his leave from Avram, the Torah terms Lot's leaving as Lot separating from Avram. Many commentators understood that this separation was irrevocable, with the implication of the text being that it very much disheartened Avram. What was so alarming about Lot's choice that it greatly dismayed Avram? On the mountaintops, water tends to be scarce as it usually flows down to the valleys and plains below. As such, Avram wanted Lot to remain on the mountaintops so that Lot would need to continue looking up to God to pray for water. By choosing to go to the plains below, Lot went to a place with an abundance of water, thereby reducing his need to constantly turn to God in prayer for water for his many flocks. But what was so bad about that? Truth be told, if the choice had been given to me, I probably would have chosen the exact same choice as Lot. It is only natural that if there is a choice between a sure thing or something in doubt, one would choose a sure thing. Why should Avram be so upset with this natural choice? Couldn't he trust Lot to do what's right? Of course, Avram understood about human nature. He understood that a person will almost always choose what he sees to be a sure thing if it is a matter of survival. Lack of water was and is a dangerous situation. In fact, Avram and his family had left Canaan for Egypt specifically because of a famine and the great danger that it would have posed had they remained in Canaan. Perhaps, even though Avram understood Lot's motivation, he wanted to make sure that Lot realized what were the implications of his choice. For starters, Lot had been with Avram for a long time, yet he chose to let his eyes lead him rather than choose what he knew to be correct, as taught by Avram. This had not ended well for Chava in the Garden of Eden, and Avram was sure that straying after his eyes would not now end well for Lot too. Avram also understood that Lot had not fully comprehended what he was looking at. Many times, something that we think or believe to be a sure thing is in reality in doubt, or vice versa, something uncertain really is sure. Lot choosing the seemingly certainty of the lush Jordan plain was in reality more doubtful than certain, as we know what the future fate of that area, constant war, and the eventual overturning of the land. But more than that, Avram realized that Lot's choice was not actually between the sure thing and the uncertainty. Lot chose the Jordan plain because it was Kegan Hashem Ke'eretz Mitzrayim, like the garden of God, like the land of Egypt. The family had just been in Egypt. They had been steeped in the Egyptian way of life and were in grave danger throughout the whole time that they were there. It was only by the grace of God that they had survived and thrived and even came out whole from their entire encounter in Egypt. When Lot chose the Jordan plain instead of the mountaintops, Avram understood that Lot was making a statement that he preferred Egypt and all that it stood for, rather than what Avram had to offer. Vayisa Lot mikedem. Lot journeyed, not east, which was true, but mikodem, to that which came before, meaning back to Egypt as represented by Sodom. After all the time that they had been together, and all that Avram had taught Lot, Lot's choice must have been a slap in his face. Though he would not give up on him, Avram must have felt that he had lost Lot. This must have especially saddened him, as he would have seen Lot as his heir apparent. As such, after Lot separated from Avram, God came to console Avram and reassure him that he will continue to grow and succeed, and that all the land that he now sees will one day belong to him and his descendants, us. Shabbat Shalom.